All right, man. How's it going on your end? How's
Yeah.
life?
Huh?
How's life going on your end, man?
Good. Hang on one second. I'm just getting a jacket on and everything. 'Cause,
Right
like I
on.
was saying, I want to. Usually when I go on walks, I can like my brain starts to flow with ideas.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second here. Sorry. All right, I'm walking outside, getting my boots on. Would do anything for Thanksgiving? You there?
Yeah, man. What'd you say?
I said, you do anything for Thanksgiving?
Oh yeah. I actually just got back from a Thanksgiving dinner tonight. That's where I was, and we were all like in our sugar comas, about ready to pass out, and I was like, now I'm ready to do a podcast, man, and talk. I got all this energy ready to expel. I'm going to put it all into my brain now and focus on something.
We're so we're doing Thanksgiving tomorrow with my wife's family,
Mhm.
and then on Saturday we're gonna go head up to Columbus to go have Thanksgiving with my dad. And weird because like I've grown up, I've lived my whole life. Like my dad's always been around, you know.
Yeah.
And up until recent, like during the pandemic, like I would say 3 months into the pandemic, he was just like, "Yep, like I'm gonna move to Columbus with my girlfriend," and like, you know,
Whoa.
it just like all of a sudden he was like, just one morning I woke up to a text. He's like, "Yeah, I'm moving. Here's my new house," and I'm like, "Jesus, okay,"
That's pretty heavy, man.
you
Yeah.
know. I mean, he'd been back and forth. He'd been back and forth between Columbus and where I live for years because his girlfriend lives in Columbus, you know. So it wasn't like it made sense, you know what I mean? But it just was so abrupt, you know.
Right.
And like you know, my whole family works in a company together, and it was just so bizarre, you know. I think the pandemic kind of showed him that he could work anywhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
You don't have to be stuck
but,
in one
like,
spot.
huh?
Things are a little more fragile than everybody thought, so you got to have multiple backup plans.
Yeah, I think he just, I don't know, I think he realized he was getting older, and I think he just wanted to spend more time with his girlfriend, you know?
Yeah.
And I think COVID kind of shocked him a little bit, because he, he had a stroke right before, like, so, like, let's say March, COVID, like, everyone knew what COVID was. Like, he had a stroke in, like, end of January or February, and we kind of think that he had COVID before people really knew what it was, and, like, he had a stroke because of that. That's what we think.
Oh,
But it
man.
didn't mess him up. Like, he just felt weird, and then he, like, went to the doctor, like, days later and got some scans. They're like, yeah, you had a stroke. Like, you know, so, like, but he had no, like, you know, some people lose motor function of certain parts, or, you know what I mean? He didn't have any of that. So,
Well, that's good.
yeah.
You know, that sucks. He had a stroke, man. Jesus.
Yeah, I think it kind of freaked him out a little bit, you know,
So
because he's been fairly healthy all his life.
now he's trying
You know,
to
like,
live up life and
just
do
normal,
some risky stuff,
yeah,
huh?
just normal stuff like overweight or whatever, but I don't know. I guess I'm just bringing it up because it's just weird. Kind of. Let's see. I'm 32 now, You know, he's always been there, and it's just weird now that he's not. You know what I mean? He's not. It used to be that I could walk into his office every day, when I was at work, and go and talk to him.
Yeah.
Which I can still call him on, the phone or whatever, but it's just strange for me.
No, it is a strange situation, man. He's kind of living up his own life. He's not living the family life. He's got his own thing. Yeah, that is weird, man. What do you think that is about? I guess parents now. It's not like Little House on the Prairie,
Well, I mean, I don't think you gotta understand. Like, he was like the central figure. So it's in our family. It's 3 boys, me, my 2 older brothers, and then we have a little sister. And you've heard, I've told you all this stuff before, but basically, like, when I was around, like, 7 years old, he, we uprooted, and we moved, and he started his own company. It was, like, a very, like, big deal, And from the time I was, like, 7 till now, it's just been, like, constant grind. And he's kind of been the central figure for all of us, I guess as a father should be. And I wouldn't say at this point he did. I think he's just seeing that we're like older. We all have kids. We're all married. We all work at the company, and I think he's just kind of like, I want to kind of settle down with my girlfriend in Columbus, and I don't know. I think he's kind of just seeing. I think it's part of him kind of letting the reins go a little bit. You know what I mean? I mean, he's still a big part of the company. It's just I think he realizes he's getting older. He's like, I think he's like 66 now, or something. 65, 66.
Right.
So. I don't know, yeah, but it is still kind of like Little House on the Prairie, right? Because he's formed, he strove from the time I was 7 till now to kind of form this family unit business, you know what I mean? And you have to understand that, like, a lot of people told him, like, oh, that will never work. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you can't, like, mix family and business. And it's for sure got, like, its ups and downs, and it's problems, but, like, it also has a lot of benefits, you know what I mean? Like, and, the older I get, it's like the more I realize, like, that it's hard to find people to trust, but not just, like, trust, like, it's hard to, like, the world is like I've been thinking about this a lot lately, like the world really is a hard place. Like, it doesn't care nothing about you. You know what I mean? And I was thinking about it because I'm thinking of what to tell my kids. I'm like, I'm going to have to tell them, like, the world doesn't owe you anything, and it's hard, and it's not going to care about you, so don't be surprised. You know what I mean? If something comes off as hard or harsh, it's not uncommon.
Right.
So I guess the point I was trying to make is just like, it is kind of like Little House on the Prairie in that, I go to work every day with my brothers and my sister. And my sister actually lives in Columbus too. But through technology, we're kind of all able to be there. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
And we all kind of support each other. You know what I mean? And I think in some ways, like, it does make you stronger, like, having, like, that, support. I don't want to say support system, but, like, I'm kind of losing it, but, we've built sort of like a mini little empire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, your family.
And how big can that get with our kids once they grow up? You know, if they want to be a part of it. You know. So.
It's important to build a kingdom, have something,
yeah,
a legacy to leave behind.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, you kind of that's what I was kind of struggling to say, but that word kingdom, that's exactly that describes exactly
that's not a goal a lot of people have anymore. They don't give a shit about leaving something behind, or even having the kids, let alone. These are very strange times, but it's a good thing that you value that and it's a priority, and that your dad saw that as a priority and wanted to keep you all banded together. There's a lot of criticism about that, about wealthy people and people that have it well off. It's because someone in their bloodline cared enough to set things in motion to where, hey, here's an option. If you want to come into these riches that I've acquired into my old age, your children can take up your trade or your skill or your business or whatever, and you can advance that even further and not start from zero, from scratch. There's this strange American culture of fuck you if you were given something, fuck you if your dad loved you and left you something instead of nothing. Because a lot of people don't get left with anything because their parents, their father didn't give a shit. They didn't have any ambition. They didn't have enough focus. And then they want to take it out on everybody else, the 1%. There's a fucked up thing about the universe, in that only 1% of things make it to be anything, such as matter itself. Even these scientists, these atheist people, they have only one, before the Big Bang and all of the multi-dimensions were oscillating and touching each other, they all annihilated each other except 1% of the matter that wasn't antimatter that it created our universe. And even with reproduction, you have all the sperm trying to get into the egg. Only like a small one of them kind of makes it in there. There's a competition in everything, is what I'm trying to get at, and people don't like that. They don't like that some people have somebody that knows it's a competition and prepared it and made like a fort to protect their family, and their kids could inherit the fort, the kingdom, this safety, the money, the empire.
And it's funny because in my mind, too, I don't see a better way of doing it. You know what I mean? Like, typical, like the common knowledge, I guess, right now is like, and I guess it's kind of growing out, but and people are realizing it's kind of bullshit, but like, you go to high school, you graduate, you get sent off to college, you go to college, then you got to intern for shit, for nothing, you know what I mean? Then you get some experience, and then you get some, entry-level job, whatever. But in my mind, and that's all, to me, that's all predicated on the thought of, oh, well, they need to figure out what they want to do, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. But let me lay down, this, kind of view of it. You know what I mean? What I think it's a better thing for someone to start a business, to bring the kids in, then here's exactly what happened in our company. My dad, started when I was 7. Well, somehow we each, there's 5 years in between each of our births, right? So my sister is 5 years younger than me. I'm 5 years younger than my next brother, and he's 5 years younger than my next brother, right? So from my oldest brother, there's 15 years difference. Or 10 years. Sorry, 10 years. But, so somehow it all worked out that each one of us have a certain skill set. You know, like the oldest, like, is really good at sales. The other one is the next, one is really good at, like, he's really smart and he's good at, like, organization, and he, like, kind of runs up operations, and I'm good at, like art. So, like, marketing is where I fall in. You know what I mean? My sister falls in with, like, social media and stuff, and we kind of work hand in hand. But, like,
you're the dream team.
Right. Like, the point being is, why wouldn't you want to give, like, in my mind, this is how it should work. The family has an industry, and they work together, and they find their pockets, right? And while they grow up, because this is what happened to me, while they grow up, they learn, and then eventually, when it becomes, of age, they can make money and still learn, right? And there's never sort of that, like, weird downtime where you're in college and you're finding yourself, or what. I don't even know what that means. Like,
right. What does that mean?
Saying? Like, to me, that seems. I mean, I guess that requires a strong patriarch.
Yeah, it's a very Chad thing that your father did. It's a very Chad thing.
That's that 1%.
Yeah. Well, looking out for the future generations, people that have enough foresight.
And you know what's even funnier, though? It doesn't even have to start with my dad. My grandfather, his father, who died when my dad was 16, he was the same way. Like, he owned a newspaper, a local newspaper. And he was so involved with, like, the local community that there were, like, at his funeral, there were, like, thousands of people at his funeral. Like, tons. Like, out the door. You know what I mean? Like, line.
Nice.
Line. It was, like, a big deal when he died.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And he left that newspaper to my father and his, my grandmother and his, my father's brothers.
Yeah.
And, it's just something kind of, I guess, a little bit in us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, legacy. Leaving a legacy.
Yeah, legacy. It started with my grandfather, and it made an impression on my father, and he continued it. And
it's important to some people, but it's not important to everybody. I don't know why. But they sure love to take it out on you guys. The must be nice. Oh, that must be nice. Yeah, it is fucking nice. It's fucking nice to have somebody care about you from 100 years ago. Some great-grandfather was like, I want to start this legacy and leave something behind because I love my kids. Why is that wrong to love your kids? I don't get it. That's what I heard people criticize Trump about, like, oh, must be nice getting $100 million loan. Yeah, it was just $1 million loan from his dad. It was like, yeah, it probably was. He probably had a good idea. He wanted to try it, and his dad trusted him. And he was like, here's $1 million. Go try your idea and make $100 million out of it. And that's what he did.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, fuck you, must be nice. I don't know why that resentment it lives. I don't know what feeds it exactly. But it's a problem because everybody could do that. It's not like it has to be a 1%. It is because only 1% of people seem to give a flying fuck. I don't know why everybody else doesn't care, but they don't. And why do you think that is? Why do you think there's so few individuals that want to project into the future and care for their children, and everybody else just wants to abuse them, take shit out on them, not let them succeed, sabotage their success? Divorce is a big thing. You're talking about your dad has a girlfriend. My dad had a girlfriend too. Everybody's dad seems to have had a girlfriend, and but yet they've left this legacy behind, and they're going off into the sunset now. And everybody wants to hate on them, but look at what they've created. Look at what they've done. It's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why people do. I mean, my dad. I would say my dad kind of doesn't get a bad rap at all. You know what I mean? Like he's pretty. Everyone pretty much seems to like him.
Right.
But I have experienced what you're saying with like, oh, it must be nice. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
you know, people weren't there when I was growing up. When the unknowns. It's hindsight's 20/20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They see us, and we're not like some crazy like huge. Like we're a private company. We're not like publicly traded, so we're not huge. You know what I mean? But and like I'm not like one of the Walt kids. I'm not like a millionaire. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
I don't have like a trust fund. I go to work every day. You know what I mean? But I have experienced like the whole like must be nice thing, but they weren't there. Like I was bred for this. You know what I mean? Like I was bred for this, for what I'm doing now. It's been ingrained in me since I was very young. Like because I was there at the beginning of the formation of the company.
Yeah, and there.
I saw. I wasn't there all the time with my father, but I saw what he did. A lot of the things. I understood what it took. You know, I was there when.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are born with no purpose, and they get very resentful of people that, are born with purpose, on purpose. You know, they're not an accident. You know what I mean? And I think that's a big source of the resentment as well. It's just a lot of people that like to have sex, and that it created most people that we encountered. That's how they're made. That's the energy put into their creation was, she's hot, or I guess he's all right looking. Let's bang, and then the parents are upset that the child is made just because the parents wanted to have a good time, So then they take it out on the kids. They take it out on them. They don't leave something behind for them. They're not trying to help them,
right.
And I don't know how you solve that. I don't know. It sucks. It's a shitty thing. I think foster parenting is terrible. So many kids are abused in that. Maybe, the military helps some of these people. I know that for sure. But should everybody be a soldier just so they can straighten themselves out and not say must be nice all the time? I think the must be nice is the core of a lot of problems happening right now. It's the victim mentality.
Right. Well, it's they're I'm like having trouble thinking of words tonight, but they're coveting. They covet other people's whatever.
Yeah. Their lawnmower, their car, their whatever. It's bad to do any of that with any of those things.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird because it's funny when you bring up like the military. I feel like you bring up the military a lot. Like I feel like you've got this strong, like this strong slant towards like military. Like people should people should serve in the military. Like everyone, they should have or some sort of service to their country before. Do you kind of have that idea?
Well, I come from a military family, so that's probably where a lot of that comes from. And I think, I didn't go in the military, for the record, because I'm not very good at being told what to do. But I'm not like most people. Some people, want somebody to tell them what to do. I don't know why that is. And then some people want me to tell them what to do, and I don't want to do that either. So I'm not a leader. I don't want to be a leader. So that leaves me kind of going off into the dark woods and exploring strange stuff. But anyway, my parents, though, I think it helped them. And I know other people that the military has helped out a lot. The structure helped them out a lot. And I think a lot of people require that for sanity. There's a quote that I'm probably gonna butcher. It's a what's his name? Joseph Campbell quote. The mystic swims with delight in the waters the psychotic drowns in. And a lot of people kind of go crazy and lose themselves if they don't have structure, you know? If they don't have somebody telling them what to do. If they're not sure where they're going next week or next month or next year. And then there's other people that don't want a structure. The structure feels like a straitjacket to them. They're like, why? I don't need this. This is ridiculous. So I think it depends, but yeah, I think most people benefit from the structure and feeling like they're helping and they're in a community and they're learning a skill. What I think is bad about the negative part of the military is there's no place for them in civilian life. A lot of them can't get jobs. A lot of them can't, reintegrate into society once they're out of the military. And you have all these.
I got questions about that.
Yeah.
Like, do you think some of that integration, like nowadays, has something to do with maybe because there's all kinds of guys out there now with PTSD and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think part of that is maybe they can't cope because maybe they feel like they fought in an unjust war or something like that?
Yeah, I think.
You know what I mean?
Not only that, I think they fight in wars and get maimed and crippled and their friends die, and they come back and everybody is just so political, and then everybody's just kind of eating fast food and everybody's in a hurry, and it's just nobody cares. You know what I mean? It's like, what was it for? Was it for the news anchor to say this number to make people feel this way? Is it all like a marketing ploy? I don't know. I don't know what they think or feel exactly. I'm just trying to imagine.
Because back in the day, it seemed like a successful sort of campaign was for God, King, and country kind of thing. You know what I mean? For God, for King.
I don't
you're
think
fighting for something.
Yeah. I don't think most people now believe that the Middle East war is justified. I think and people give me all kinds of shit for this, for trying to understand Islam and trying to understand what are these 1 or 2 billion people over here believing. What I can't just ignore them or say blow them all up or just say fuck this. I really have tried to do a deep dive on what they think and believe, and I come to find out there's a lot of similarities, and I wonder why it's hammered so hard that we're different. And then we could get into all that, but we might get taken off of YouTube or whatever. But I just think it's interesting. These soldiers go over there and fight, and then they come back, and then everything is a political soundbite, and their friend is dead, and they don't have a leg now. So, do you know about Starship Troopers? And this whole meme going around.
That's why I brought it up.
The veterans need to rise up and take over the government and stop the political experiments, the social experiments, and because this is what we need to all realize is America is still an experiment. This isn't written in stone. This isn't gospel. All of this stuff we're doing here. And they're all social, political experiments that we're doing to each other. We change up stuff so quickly. But anyway, yeah. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying, it's funny you brought up Starship Troopers because that's why I brought it up.
Oh.
Like talking about like the military and like military service, because I'd heard you talk about that before. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what Starship Troopers is like, you know.
A meritocracy.
That's like the whole premise, right? Is like kind of like serving the country first.
Yeah, you have to be willing to die in order to vote. So nobody can vote unless they go into the military.
Yeah.
But in the book, you could also join the Peace Corps. You didn't have to use a weapon or a rifle.
It was still service.
It was service of some kind, yes. You could be an engineer. You could be in the Corps of Engineers, Army Corps of Engineers. You could build bridges instead of being a medic, or instead of doing this, Peace Corps. So,
and
yeah.
I mean, that's what part of that idea is sort of coming to the forefront, like, now. You know what I mean? Because I'm not saying, like, whatever, the semi-weird, like, fascistic Starship Troopers, like, whatever, like, idea. But I'm saying there's something to kind of, like, pull from that in that, you know, we've kind of been asleep at the wheel. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The local government is where it's at. And, like, we don't serve anymore.
Not only
you know
local,
what I mean?
local government, but
the school boards. And right now you see like a big, I think a kind of like a little awakening of people like starting to like be like, oh, we need to go to these school board meetings, or oh, we need to like run for some local office, or we need to go. I mean, you and me went to like our state capitol and we go talk to some delegates because of it, you know?
Yeah, and what they told us is they mostly fight over parking spots and play pranks on each other.
Yeah. Well, well, the other thing I pulled too was that they just keep passing the buck.
Yeah.
You know, like it goes, and I was thinking about this tonight too, like, okay, like, first my head was like federal, and then they're like, oh, well, you can change stuff at the states. And then we went to the state, and they're like, well, you need to go, like, it's literally how it happened. They're like, oh, well, you need to go, like, to your county. You know, go to the county. Like, I go to a school board meeting, and they're like, oh, well, we can't end the mask mandate because the health department, right? You go and talk to the health department, and they say, oh, well, it's up to the school board. Like, I swear to God.
You know what they were telling us in between the lines up there is that each county needs to start to rebel to force the governor's office to pay attention to them. Be like, oh, people aren't responding well. That's what they were saying, you know, and that's true. People do have to personally get involved and, you know, go out there and rally together and go into these places. It's true, but but this is the problem. This
not just like rally, right?
This is the problem. People have a cup. People have a cup, and it's their cup of energy in a day. And at the end of the day, they got nothing left of their cup. In fact, they had to use pieces of their cup to burn off for the energy left in the work they got to do. So they don't have the time or the energy in their cup to go and give a flying fuck about any of this stuff. So that's the real problem is the time that people do not have. And is that their choice? You know, this is the great argument of our time right now. Whose fault is this? What's going on? You know, who can we blame? Should people go and be Amish farmers? You know, like or these weird people with the hydroponics and they're living off grid and they're just paying their property tax. Then you don't have any workers for McDonald's. You don't have any people working at Walmart. Nobody working at Amazon. What happens to society when everybody just starts quitting their job? When they start replacing their lifestyle requirement with something that's expensive with something that is dirt cheap. They're willing to bend their cultural...
Well, not just dirt cheap, but also, like, for example, if you kind of start to go off grid, then you have to concentrate on the stuff that's required for survival. You know?
Right.
So all the other stuff, bullshit, gets cut out. Sorry, go on.
No, yeah, you're right. I'm so happy to see it happening right now. Everybody is quitting their job. There's like 15 million people that have quit their job since the COVID started. And there was this recent incident at a Wendy's where, they were understaffed, underpaid, and somebody was really rude to them, and the lady just said, the manager just like, you know what, I quit. We all quit. Let's all walk out of here. I'm shutting this Wendy's down. And there's just no more Wendy's in that town now. It's just, what are they going to do? There's no violence. There's no people out there with guns. There's no Molotov cocktails. It's just that Wendy, there's nobody in there to man it. There's nobody there to work. It's just dark now. The lights are off. And I think that's a real powerful statement. I think that's the most powerful statement that you can make is absence. Not even playing into the game. Just leaving.
Well, I'm hoping that a bunch of these just parallel economies start sprouting up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think I was telling you before, but in where I live, there's all these in one of the hospitals near me. There's all these nurses and doctors that are refusing to get the vaccine.
Nice.
And one of them is my nurse practitioner, right? And last time I was in there, I was talking to her, and she was like, I'm supposed to be fired today. I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, they sent a letter, and they won't use the words because they're hoping that you'll just leave thinking you're fired.
Right.
But, they won't use the word termination, even though that's what they have to use. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're hoping that you'll just kind of go away if we kind of imply something. You know what I mean? So she's like, I'm going to keep showing up until they say you are terminated. You know what I mean? Because then she can go and sue.
Or stop paying her.
But she was talking to me. She's like, I hope they do. She's like, we're already talking about starting another practice. It's a ton of nurses and doctors. It's tons. It's a lot. And they're like, we can start our own. You know what I mean? And we won't do we'll use integrative medicine. You know what I mean? We'll use stuff that big pharma. That isn't all just big pharma, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that kind of stuff excites me. I'm like, oh, yeah, I want a doctor like that. You know what I mean? I want to go to a place where, I can pay cash or something and get service and, get real good treatment because, the hospitals, it's all a mess, dude. Insurance is crazy. It's all confusing. None of it, no one can follow it. It all doesn't make sense. I was chronically ill there for many years, and I never got help, in a normal hospital. I had to drive all over the country to get help from doctors that wouldn't accept insurance because of the bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And their stuff helped me more than the general doctor offices. You know what I mean? The big hospitals, the ones that adhere solely to, what the general conventional medical community says to do. None of this stuff helped me. It wasn't until we had got out of the big system that I started to get help. So I'm excited about parallel economies. I'm hoping more people do start to like Owen Benjamin says, start to garden, start to grow food, start to trade and barter. That's why we got the honeybees in the back.
Yeah, man.
Because I want to barter.
They're Taria.
I want to know how to do stuff so, I can barter with people.
Yeah, I'm very excited about the same thing. Parallel economies are the future. I haven't quite heard that term before, but I've talked about parallel economies for years now, and that they are the future. Just people sprouting up and doing their own thing and having their own production, having their own things they produce and that they can sell and trade, and that gives them power. That gives them power of their own lives and their time and what they do with their families and how their families form. and what legacies they can leave behind for their families. I'm very interested to see these new legacies that people are creating for themselves. These new types of families that are living off grid, that are not part of the school system. In the next 20 years, these kids are going to grow up and come out and do something with the world. They're not going to hide in the woods forever. They're going to do something to change the world towards what they are. And I'm looking forward to that. I hope I'm alive to see all that good stuff, and I don't get taken out when all this bad stuff happens. I hope we can all get through whatever these bad waves are, and all this resentment and people hating each other and killing each other and setting shit on fire. Hope we can avoid all of this together in some way, and just argue and yell at each other, maybe throw a couple of bottles, but I don't know. What do you think's gonna happen? Do you think we're gonna all blow up at each other over the Rittenhouse thing and this other Florida thing, all these other trials going on? It seems to be trial season right now. You notice that too? Like they're amping up the trial drama.
Yeah.
They do that every.
I think that.
They do that every couple years.
I think that we're already in a conflict, and it is the new face of war. That's what I think. And there's just, and again, we've talked about this before, but I think that, and I get a lot of this stuff from Steve Bannon and everything, but I think warfare looks different now. I think it's economic. I think it's with COVID, it could be oh man, I'm forgetting all the words right now. I'm sorry. Economic, it could be spreading a virus to hurt a population. You know what I mean? And it's all, maybe there's a little bit of kinetic, actual fire bombs and stuff like that. Population control. I think this is the new face of war. And I think the general population just hasn't realized it, but we are kind of at war right now. You know what I mean? But it's just it looks so different now.
Well, this is if this is the future, I'm happy that this is the future, because not as many people are dying. Hopefully we can steer civilization back onto some kind of good course instead of straight into the rocks like we are right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes in the back of my head, you get kind of freaked out because you think of the atrocities of the 20th century.
Uh-huh.
And that was a big, in the early 20th century, those were some big atrocities. And if you kind of think about it for a second, you're like, well, that hasn't happened like it did back then in a while. A lot of people are like, yeah, well, not a lot of people are dying now. But like you were saying, kind of the resentment's growing. And I'm just curious. What kind of freaks me out in the background is what does the next atrocity look like with all this new technology? What does control look like? You kind of know already. You're kind of seeing a glimpse.
Right.
But my thinking is that you don't really know yet. You know what I mean?
Right. Wait, hang on 1 second. Hang on 1 second. Somebody just pulled up in my driveway.
Okay.
The legal system that you can't represent yourself. Really, you got to have a lawyer to unlock all of the secrets and all of the other things that are happening and what's going on and the rules. But that's just the way the way our world is that we've created. It's all laws. And I guess that prevents people from killing each other. You have lawyers write words on paper and yell at each other in the courtroom. And
I was listening to this Steve Bannon thing, and he just said, like, all they speak is law. That's all they can do is speak a law or something like that. He's, like, talking about all these elites and stuff.
right.
Hey, sorry.
No, it's true. They and it is another language. It's legalese, you know. But you know, does it keep people from killing each other? I mean, it seems to be, because people do kill each other over land disputes in the past. You know, in the ancient past, people kill each other. You know, people will kill each other over all kinds of stuff that is sorted out in a courtroom. You know, it takes forever and a day. I wish there was. The only thing I don't like is there needs to be some way to make it quicker and accurate. I mean, we've been to the moon already, right? Allegedly. And what we need to do is figure out how to get things going. Make stuff happen. Get these speedy trials that we were promised.
Yeah, it's a little bit behind the times with technology and stuff, probably.
Yeah.
You bring up a good point. Like, I was thinking, you know, even when we were talking about, like, what are these kids going to be like that are growing up in this climate and all that stuff, and I was like, again, I'm thinking about the kids. I'm thinking about what they're going to be like just by having me as a father. Like, they're going to hear me say things, and just by osmosis, they're going to pick it up. Like, they're going to hear me say, like, oh, taxation. It's theft. Like, you know, they're going to hear me say things like, you know, now in today's society, in civil society, you mean to tell me there's no better way of having a society than by forcing people by gunpoint to pay taxes? There's not some kind of something we can do or system to come up with that makes it all voluntary. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, if your kids learn that stuff, it's not a bad thing. I mean, it's true. Taxation is theft. They're stealing it from you. I think it should be voluntary.
It's old, right? It's old. You know, the progressives, they talk about, like, progressing, and yet they run on taxation.
Yeah.
But to me, it's an old idea. How about you come up with something better? You mean to tell me the best you got is, oh, well, we're going to put a gun to your head. You don't pay. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The technology is already past it. You follow?
Yeah, that's what Starship Troopers talks about. It's all voluntary, even the taxes. You know, the people you don't put stuff into it unless they want to. Voluntarism is what that movement's called, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I just think the core principles are fucked. You know, like, you know, if you don't pay taxes, then you've got Mr. Jailman coming to take you away. Take away your, you know what I mean, your freedom. That's barbaric.
Well, what people do instead is they don't work now, and they don't make any money, so now they don't pay taxes. They don't have to. They're not contributing members of society because I don't think people believe in the society's dream anymore.
Or they get $5,000 from the government, put it into cryptocurrency, and next thing you know, they're millionaires.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't even think these people are getting money anymore. I think they are doing stuff like that, and I think they're living off grid, and they don't need money probably anymore. There's probably a lot of self-sufficient people out there that have just been willing to do that instead of put up with the public. It's kind of like, you know, that movie M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. Everybody's like just fucking fed up with society, and they went and made their own. And I think everybody's doing that. They're making their own little village now. And I think it's great. I think that's exactly what we need to do. Even, you know, one of my favorite books, Dune, they made a movie about it. The new movie sucked, by the way. I just hated that new Dune movie. It was just retarded. I like the 80s David Lynch Dune better.
What did you like about it? Was it woke?
It wasn't even woke. It was without substance.
Okay.
it was, how do I put it? I felt like I was just walking down a hallway, and then I came out the other end, and it was just no big deal. I don't know even how to put it. It felt like nothing happened.
Yeah.
It was boring, and I didn't like it. I really like the David Lynch Dune where they talk. You know, you hear their thoughts. It kind of does a narration, and everybody gives they give it shit. But I think it's great because it kind of makes me feel like I'm in a book, because in a book, while you're in it, you do get to see into people's thoughts. Like, I thought this, but what I said was this, and how I acted. And Dune was one of the first movies that did that. Is brave enough to try to do that, and I thought it was really brilliant, but they give it a lot of hate. They're like, oh, that's stupid, but nah, it was creative. Anyway, in Dune, I need to get to my point. In Dune, they had this concept at the end, the scattering. So this dude was such a nasty, mean tyrant and was so oppressive in society. He didn't want people to read or write or have jokes. None of it. You couldn't have your own business. And then people rose up against him. And then he disappeared, and everybody was so afraid of a dictatorship again that they all scattered as far away as possible from all the other humans so that they couldn't control each other. And it was called the Great Scattering, and it was the only way the people that could tell the future, the people that had prescience, this guy named Leto II, the God Emperor of Dune, he could see into the future, and the only way humans would ever survive is if they scattered far away from each other and developed crazy new technologies that would counter each other, and they can never be dictated by one human race again. They would instead probably fight and leave each other alone instead. And I think that's what's going on in America, is my whole point. We're having a great scattering. We're all going off and doing our own little thing and creating our own little communities on YouTube and Discord, and there's nothing the government can do about it. Like, there's so many of us going in so many different directions. They don't have enough FBI agents to spy on all of us.
Well, and, you know, too, here's the strange thing, too, and this is just me kind of thinking out loud, so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but, seems like, too, they kind of, at the same time, try to divide us, but also try to keep us together. You know what I mean? Why not just let people group to the groups they want to be a part of? You know what I mean?
That's a good question.
It's always demonized, like, oh, well, you know, you're not open-minded, or you're not, you know, you're racist or whatever. But
yeah, like, what about the people that like hip-hop and the people that like heavy metal? You know, they're two different groups, but they don't want to listen to each other's music, so don't force them to listen to someone else's music, I think, is a good example.
Yeah.
Why can't we do that with other cultures? Why has it got to be such a big deal? I don't know why it's got to be a big deal, but, you know, like black people, before segregation, had their own schools, their own stores, their own communities.
Yeah.
And then the white people said, no, you can't have that. You have to use our stores. Why didn't, when it's segregation ended, why didn't the white kids go to black schools? How come the black people got their school shut down, then they had to go to the white school and share it with the white kids? You know what I mean? That wasn't equal. That was fucking getting shafted. You know, they all lost their jobs.
You know?
Do what, man?
Let it be.
Yeah, let it be. Let people alone. Yeah, let people have their own groups.
You go form your own school where you have both black and white people.
Yeah, and check this out. This is the most fucked up thing that illustrates it perfectly. How come the Asians get to have Chinatown, but the blacks don't get to have Blacktown, and the whites don't get to have Whitetown? You know, like, there is Chinatown, and that's accepted. People are like, oh, okay, that's Chinatown. Every major city has a Chinatown. Everybody knows where all the Chinese people are. There used to be, you know, where all the Italians live too. It's just like everybody has always wanted to group together. We're comfortable. Everybody's comfortable with that, but we're not comfortable admitting that.
Yeah. Well, people aren't comfortable admitting too that, you know, you have to have a core ideals to live with someone else. And they just think that they can take all these ideas and all as if they're somehow all equal and just, like, push them together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm saying, why don't we just separate? Why don't we just, I want to be over here with these people. You know what I mean? You can be over there with those people. And when you come in the middle on those terms and you talk to each other, well, then there's some sort of mutual respect, even if there isn't some kind of, you retain the ideals of your group, but there might still be some bartering in between the two, if you follow what I'm saying. Because there's no respect anymore. You know what I mean? What is that? You know what I mean? I feel sometimes like I'm illiterate in the world of respect. You know what I mean? Like, I know you know this, but, like, I grew up with a lot of steel mill men. And sometimes I would be communicating with them, and I felt like I was missing something that they were in on. And years later, I realized it was like this code and language of respect. You know what I mean? It was the way they acted. It was like the way they held themselves influenced other people's, like, they were communicating on so many different levels, and it had to do with this, like, respect kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the way you carry yourself. A stoicism.
Well, but it was, what I'm saying is like, they had certain ways of talking to each other that maybe I wasn't keyed in on, right? And, like, how do I say it? Like, if at any time you want to try and help me out, please do. But, like,
oh, okay. Well, yeah, what I was going to say is they had this sort of attitude of either you get it or you don't. And they kind of developed this thing individually, but somehow other individual men came to similar conclusions, and they had this secret understanding between each other.
Well, it was like the zeitgeist of the age. It was so part of them and their group and their culture that this is how you operate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I was talking to them and wasn't quite getting the response I thought I should, years later I feel like I came to the conclusion, like, they were operating on this. You know what I mean? This respect kind of culture.
And they were also playing a different game than we are right now.
They what?
They were also playing a different game than we are right now, as in me and you.
Yeah.
You know, we're different type of men in a different type of age, with different types of problems. So, you know, we're not as, you know, I think we're more open, and that's the whole reason we're having this conversation here too. I don't think those men would be, want to have this type of conversation.
Right. Yeah. No, I understand. That's true. A lot of those guys were just kind of ended up being fun to be around, and
right.
Like taught me a lot of great things. But you kind of also knew where you could go with them. You know what I mean?
Right.
They were operating on a whole nother sort of dimension there, where, like, for me, I just like to. It's so funny. Like, I do it with everyone, but I'll play devil's advocate on, like, everything. And people will seriously think that because I'm saying it, they'll think, and because I say it with such a straight face, you know what I mean? They'll say something, and I'll be like, well, what about this? You know, they'll think I actually hold that position, you know? But
you're just doing the Socratic method.
Huh?
You're just doing the Socratic method. I mean, you're just setting up a straw man, and you're trying to get a point across. Some people that don't get that are just retarded, man.
I want to see how far in their foundations they'll go. I want to know what's behind everything. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay. You know, like, when, like, I do it all the time. It's crazy. Like, my brother's wife was talking about, like, her and my wife, and then this other girl were talking about, like, body positivity, right?
Right.
And I'm listening to her, and I just start giggling, and I throw in, like, little things, and they're just looking at me, and they're like, come on. And I'm like, well, you know, why? You know, what? And I'm just start asking, and they're like, the one girl's like, "Are you miserable in your life?" I'm like, "No, I'm just trying to figure out. I was just trying to figure out like what you guys need, you know." But like that's how far I take it. Like they think I'm serious, you know. So I don't know. But yeah, you couldn't really do that with some of those mill guys.
Some of the
You know?
some of the what guy? Oh yeah, the older men.
Mill
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, well, they weren't interested, and it begs the question: which life is better, a simpler life or the more complex one that we're in right now, where we have to have these complicated conversations now about what is going on anyway, what's happening.
I think you're in a great turning where we're the first people to kind of mess around with unlimited information, or not total unlimited. But
No, I get you. For the sake of argument, let's say unlimited for the sake of argument.
right, like we're the test, like we're the first one. We can just Google or search engine anything.
Yeah.
Really, you know what I mean? So, sometimes it baffles me. Sometimes sometimes I'm doing it. I'm like, this isn't natural. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is unnatural. Yeah, it is, man.
We have, well, I don't know, but yeah, like sometimes I get to the point where I'm like, this has to be doing something to my brain. This is new. I'm making new neural pathways or something, and the next generation will be better at than I am. But I feel like I'm the steam engine. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Elon Musk talks about like brain bandwidth. You know, I feel like my bandwidth is like cable modem right now.
Would you get a Neuralink?
I don't know. You and me have talked about that before. I don't know. I have no idea. In the past, new technologies, there's always a certain group of people that were freaked out by new technologies. You know what I mean? Where like blood transfusion was, looked like frowned upon or whatever. But like, I think that whatever's coming there's going to be a good in it and there's going to be a bad in it. And I would think that I would wait around for the good. But if I were to get a Neuralink and it connects us to, it all connects us and it's open-ended and it's unprotected, then I probably wouldn't. You know what I mean? I guess it just depends what Neuralink is and what it even means. I don't know, man. I have no idea. I hear people talking about what do they call it? The transhumanism.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I have no idea what I think. A lot of these, like, here's the problem too, is a lot of those people that kind of support the transhumanist thing, they all have like these weird beliefs. You know what I mean? Like these weird culty, like they want to become mini god beliefs. You know.
So here's another tangent that goes into with not only culture. What if you have entire groups of people that want to leave the human race and manipulate their DNA to be something else?
I mean, maybe, but
like with this CRISPR stuff or the Neuralink.
Right.
What if you want to be a cyborg? What if you want to be a pterodactyl and have wings? What if you want to have webbed arms?
Here's my thing. A lot of these people, they chalk stuff up. It's like they've got such a god complex that they chalk stuff up to be better than it is, way better than it is. And when you actually end up looking at it, it's just bastardizations, and it's not actually even like a progressive step. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it always seems that the simple and what everyone thinks is like the mundane actually is the human condition, the normal human condition, still ends up being on top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or no?
No, I mean, I think that, but I also think that there's a lot of people that are going to split off, and I wonder how we're going to deal with that. The people that don't, You know, what are we going to do with these chimeras, these people that want to blend with animals?
Well, it's just like trannies chopping their dick off, right?
Yeah, it's exactly
It's
what it is. That's just the beginning, but what it will lead to is you can take your cell phone and use it to manipulate your DNA with some Neuralink nanobot fucking device. And it'll CRISPR up your DNA, and then you'll go in some little incubator and come out a fucking monster, you know, with a human consciousness. And then we'll be able to take on all these different forms. You want to go swim in the ocean? Maybe you can be an octopus monster now. And you can. There are going to be people down there just like building cities and doing weird octopus human shit. Like, I don't know what they'll be doing, but I'm sure they'll make something up. And you know, what will happen to all of us when we just start really splitting off and leaving each other in the dust of just such separate directions?
I don't know, man. I have no idea. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Because, you know, I hear Lex Friedman and Joe Rogan and all, you name it, all these podcasts of people. Alex Jones, they're just like talking about the AI, CRISPR. You know, they're talking about all this Prometheus stuff. They're talking about iRobot. And then I'm just thinking, what is our future going to be, guys? Like,
I mean, but I don't really think AI will ever be sentient.
Maybe not, but like, what if it is? And these are all what ifs, you know. But what I see is that
AI doesn't have to be sentient for it to be some sort of existential threat. It's just these programs running endlessly, like, you know, and it can still fuck shit up. You know what I mean?
Right. Have you ever seen John Carpenter's The Thing?
No.
I think that's the direction things are going in, is what I'm getting at. The Thing, the movie, is about this monster they find in Antarctica, and it can turn into anything, and it takes on your DNA, and it can turn into anything that is a part of you, and nobody can tell that it's a monster until it like shoots its tentacles out and possesses you. But it likes to be different forms. It likes to be different animals and different people. And it can't ever make up its mind on what its form is. So there's a formlessness in people's thought now of like, oh, I'm born a man, but oh, I'm a girl too, and also I'm a tiger, and you know, all this other weird shit people are into. There's a formlessness, and I think it's reflected in our technology now too. There's a real formlessness in our technology. It has no direction. What is all this shit for that we're making anyway? It's novelty. It's novelty. And somebody that everybody gives a lot of shit to, Terrence McKenna, nailed that back in the 80s. He talked about novelty and its acceleration and how nothing will matter by 2012. And that it will reach this type of novel singularity where everything's just going to be so wacky and stupid. It'll be unbelievable. And he was right. He was totally right. It was the end of the world. It was the end of common culture and the fragmentation of our reality. You got all these riots. You got all these different opinions. You got all these different people. Netflix, every single TV show in existence. And it tailors you to with this algorithm so that you can isolate yourself and be in a deeper echo chamber than ever in history. And the dude called it. It is true novelty on every corner. Things that don't really mean anything, and they're just there for the sake of being there. I think the same is true with a lot of how a lot of people feel about all the different religions. It's like it's a candy store. There's so many different candy bars of what I could believe. Do you like peanuts in your religion? Do you like caramel in your religion? What do you like? white chocolate, dark chocolate, and this is how people feel. A consumerism of their belief structure, of their work lifestyle, of what they eat. It's just, I don't know. It's the Matrix, what people call it now. It's the Matrix we're in.
Yeah. But it's weird too, but there's also a facade that surrounds it all, so that it's as real could be, but it's also fake entirely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for example, with the trans people, you know, they can look like a woman, they have boobs like a woman, they can cut their ween off, but it's still a grand facade. You know what I mean? They're still a man,
right?
No matter what. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I say it's always like a bastardization, right? It looks right, but it's like deep down, it's just
not. It's just not. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Deep down, it's just not.
Like all these demigods, like these guys that want to make themselves gods. That's what it always is. It's like this grand facade, but it's lost some sort of practicality. Like it's not useful anymore.
What do you think it would?
Have all the power in the world, but something has been stripped.
What do you think it would take for a civilization to stay on top of things to where that type of shit doesn't form? Do you think a militaristic society is the only way to ensure that, or do you think there's other ways to ensure that that those type of literal faggots, just useless people that are just bundles of sticks, really, that are useless, run everything? Like I was talking about this with somebody about The Office. The Office is a great example of exactly how the world works. Some half-wit runs everything. Jim and Pam, the most competent, high IQ, moral people, they just are in the middle. They want to be left the fuck alone. They want to be doing their own story. And constantly they're trying to be in the middle of their own story, and then everybody, ruins it.
Right.
But that the high IQ people don't want to run the world. The idiot does, because he wants to prove to everybody how smart he is all the time. And I wonder if we can change that dynamic. I wonder if the Office could change. I wonder if Jim could be the fucking boss for once. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get the Jims of the world to, just be like, I've had enough of this shit. I'm not going to do pranks. This isn't funny to me. I'm actually disgusted with this dumbass. We could sell paper to fucking everybody. We could take this shit over. Somebody with a little ambition being in the right place at the right time seems to be a very difficult thing to occur.
Well, I think we're too detached from real world consequence and hardship. You know what I mean? Of course we have hardship. That's not what I mean. I just mean we've yet to see what our weak men have actually caused.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm hoping that it doesn't get to that point, but there could be a point where, because of weak men, we could see some real bad stuff happen.
Well, something else has happened that I think has resulted in that. In history, weak men did not have access to women.
Right.
All of the Chads hoarded the women, and that wasn't the way that they didn't breed, is what I'm trying to say. And if they did, they were peasants.
Yeah.
And then we changed that system radically. It doesn't seem to be working out. What do you think about returning to a kingdom set of rules? Having one guy be like, this is the way it is. You guys got to shut up or I'll cut your heads off. This is just all this other shit, these social experiments, it's just not working. Because, the Starship Troopers version of things, that's theoretical. I don't know if a society's ever done the Starship Troopers thing. If that could actually happen, that would be yet another social experiment to see if that would work.
Starship Troopers, I'm sure it has happened, but it's not. Starship Troopers is fiction, and it's kind of got like a veneer over it. You know what I mean? Like, as to what makes you think that, a society would be that successful. You know what I mean? You're seeing what the author wants you to see, kind of thing. You know what I mean? We have no way of knowing if, in reality, it would work that way. Well, actually, we probably do have some way. There's probably examples in history.
Well, we know kingdoms have worked, so I guess, do you think it would be beneficial to return to a Christian-like kingdom way of doing things?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it seems like it would be more efficient.
But the thing about that is kind of a weird question, because, like, in the Old Testament, like, God didn't want to give the people a king, literally. Like, he was like, I'll be your king. And they kept crying out, like, saying, like, give us a king like the other nations. So he gave them Saul. And we all, I don't know if you do know, but, like, we know how that turned out. Saul, it was at first a good king, and then just completely butchered it, right?
Right.
And, like, ended up falling on a sword. Son killed in battle, like, just, he's not a good king. So I think the overarching message there is, like, I think it is kind of what initially how this country kind of started out was, there is no king. You know what I mean? But God. And that kind of has a moral standard inherent into it. You see, the problem is that we don't, people, okay, I'm going to say this. People can be moral, and yet they can live moral, be good people, and yet if they don't have a justification for that morality, then anything is justifiable. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
what comes to mind when you say that is, why do you think there's such a uniformity of force and the way that it's applied? Like, the ATF raided this gun store yesterday, and there's all these crackdowns going on Republican people and in churches and stuff. Even though there's not a king, we don't have a tyrannical king. Somehow we have a tyrannical system of, like, expectations of what the police should do and what the media should say. And where do you think that still comes? We can't escape this tyranny problem. Even if it doesn't possess one guy that's a king, it's now gone and possessed tens of thousands of police officers and media and politicians. So what the fuck is going on?
Well, and you know what's crazy? I think it's because exactly of, it's very close to the time we live in.
Okay.
What I think is happening, and this is maybe kind of going off subject of what you're trying to go towards, but it just sparked this in me.
Uh-huh.
What I think is happening is you're about to see a big crash, financial, whatever. I think they know that. A lot of these uppity people know that. And I think that they're trying to be the first ones, the next ones, to get a hold of whatever the next system is. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The central bank's going to implode. We're just racking up debt. Everyone's in debt. You know what I'm saying? And I think that a lot of these people are trying to get the score before everything goes to shit. So that's why, and I know maybe this is kind of like big and convoluted, but like, that's what I think a lot of like this pressure is. Like with, like, there's FBI agents going and raiding like mothers' homes because they're going to their school board meetings and speaking out against like crazy governmental ideas and stuff, right?
All right.
And I'm kind of just trying to put puzzle pieces together, you know? And really what we are attacking is their big score, because they need this stuff to go through. They need this stuff, like, you know, with the vaccines and everything. That's a corporate move. That's money. If not, everyone's going to get on the vaccine and there's dissent. That's money before the big implode. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I question the cryptocurrency too, because I'm like, is it just like a pyramid scheme, and they're just trying to like pump these numbers up and down so they can get in low, go up high, and then up when everything just kind of, because it's all just still based on the dollar.
Yeah.
Everyone wants the cryptocurrency so they can make more dollars.
Well, I mean, think about the cryptocurrency like this. We started with gold, and then the bank said, "Oh no! We'll give you a banknote. You can leave the gold here and put it in our safe." And now we're moving. We all had no gold in our pocket, just these paper notes saying that we had gold. And now the bank is saying, "Oh, you don't need that. We can just have these digits on a server, and you don't even have to carry the paper money." I think it's bullshit. I think it's all wrong. I even think the paper money is wrong. We need gold. We need silver. We need real value in our hands. When the power goes out and the Bitcoin gets reset, and then everybody's like, "Oh no, you know, what are they going to do? The power went out. What if there's a solar flare?" You know what I'm saying? My gold can get stolen, but then I can find that guy and then get it back. It's not like the gold gets turned off and then it's deleted out of reality. And I just think all of this digital nonsense is dangerous. It's not real. Along with this Facebook Meta, do you know about that? Have you seen that creepy shit? You're gonna get sucked into a metaverse. Your job is gonna be controlling a drone in a coal mine or in a gas well or making boats or moving boxes in an Amazon warehouse, and you're not even gonna leave your house because due to COVID. You know, I'm sick of hearing that term, due to COVID, due to COVID, due to COVID, due to COVID. I hear it in every store I go to, due to COVID.
I was about to say, I'm tired of hearing it over the intercom at stores. I'm like, I'm walking in the store. I'm just walking, and I hear, due to COVID. And I'm like, how the fuck? Like, this is how you know there's control. Every fucking store.
You're living in fucking New World Order shit.
Every fucking corporation thinks the same. What is this?
Yeah.
What kind of weird reality did I wake up in?
So what seems to have happened, and this is great because this is my point exactly about kings and kingdoms. Now something fucked up has happened. This has backfired. This American experiment. We thought since we didn't have one king, that everybody, hundreds of thousands of people working in government, local government, federal government, somehow they would be like, point fingers and check each other, checks and balances, and say, "Hey, you can't do this, you can't do this." But what instead has happened is all of them are possessed by the same exact demon, and we can't defeat all of them. With a king, you can cut his head off and then get a new one. But with this, you cannot defeat it. They're everywhere. They have the same personality. They have the same archetype. They're possessed by the same demon. I don't know what to call it. Some power hungry, like, well, I'm in charge here. You know, if I don't sign this form just right, your thing doesn't happen. Your court case or something doesn't happen, or your rights or this bill doesn't go through. Your parking spot's revoked. And it's just, you know, we, like you said, we went to the Capitol, and all of them seem to be like in this stupid game that does not involve anything meaningful. But with a king, he was held accountable. With a king, everybody knew where he lived. He lived in the biggest building right over there. We know where he lives. The king was one guy. and everything rode on what he did or didn't do. And stuff happened. Look at what the kings created, the great cathedrals of Europe. You know, that wasn't a democracy. It just wasn't. And look at what we've created with our democracy. You know, porn and skyscrapers and that, you know, that's our that's our achievement. That, you know, we've got debt and you know, a way to get HD porno to you as quickly as possible on a little black cube, a little black square. I mean,
just fucking and coming and
yeah,
like,
and making money and getting into debt and credit card. Like all of these biggest buildings that you go to in a city are credit card buildings.
Yeah, or medical building.
Yeah.
Like Bayer.
Yeah.
Like all kinds of. Like, our biggest industry in our area is, I think about this a lot, too. Our biggest industry in our area is healthcare. What kind of industry is that? You know what I mean? We just live to die? You know what I'm saying? Like, well, we're just kind of walking around until, you know what I mean? Like, seriously, every chick I went to high school is now a nurse.
Yeah.
You know? Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I've had people tell me that, like, for example, like, I talked to the city manager here, and he was like, okay, Mill's never coming back. Like, so we have to focus on, like, what we're strong on. And he's like, okay, so, you know, we ran the statistics, healthcare. That's our number one, like, go-to. I'm like, Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, everything seems to be milking people for their last dollar up until death. That is what America's achieved, is that we've achieved all this other great technology in the beginning, but somewhere after 1930, somewhere after World War II, when the baby boomers started, something fucky was afoot and screwed everything up and made everybody into let's just get into a bunch of debt, let's not care about the future, let's not have a family legacy. You know, let's not do any of that. Let's not even grow our own food. Something happened. But I think people are getting back to it. I think they're getting back to their roots. You know, people are watching Little House on the Prairie again. They're going off grid. They're sick of this shit. They don't want a boss anymore.
I mean, I know we are. I mean, that, like,
yeah.
You know, my big project last summer was do the garden. I did.
Yeah, man.
A bunch of food.
They look great.
Check this out. Okay, because you know, like, my health situation and everything.
Yeah.
And since my health kind of went, like, my stomach went too. Like, my stomach's real finicky.
It sucks.
And so Jeff canned a bunch of tomatoes.
Yeah.
Okay. And she just recently made a dinner with them, like sauce and stuff.
Ooh, nice.
And I literally. Peppers too. We had stuffed peppers with sauce, you know, like marinara.
Right.
And you would think, if you ask anyone, like, oh, pepper is hard on your stomach, a large majority would be like, yeah, like, you know, peppers can be hard on me, garlic, you know, whatever, tomato sauce.
Yeah.
Dude, no problem. I had no problems.
Oh, man.
I had no problem.
That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just from the food I eat from my backyard.
Yeah. You did it yourself, and you saw how it happened.
But what I'm saying is like, there was no shit in the food.
Right.
There was nutrients. Like, I felt good after eating it.
Energized.
It didn't hurt me. You know what I'm saying? It didn't hurt me at all. I didn't have bad belly or anything, you know? It was crazy.
Yeah, and people are so far away from that, but they're coming back to it. I'm glad. I'm glad everybody's quitting their job and they're going and making a garden somewhere.
Yeah, I like my job. You know, it's weird because, like, when I was a little younger, I was unsure. You know what I mean? I was unsure of it.
Yeah.
I still made the decision to do it because it's what I knew how to do. You know what I mean? I was raised with it. And, but like, now that I'm older, I get it now or something. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of wear it like, like a trade. Like if I grew up in a house of police officers, and each next generation they end up being police officers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're good at being police officers because their daddy was a police officer. You know what I mean? And now I'm like, I'm good at what I do because my daddy was this, and I know how to do it. And you know what I mean? Like I look at it as like a trade now. You know? I don't know why I said that. I went off on that, but.
Well, it is a trade. It's something that you're leaving behind, and I think people are getting intent on that. For the past 60 years, we've been stuck in an economy where you have to sacrifice everything, your family, your time, your health, just to pay the bills. And now people are radically changing their lifestyle. They're getting in tiny houses. You know, they're living off the land. They're changing their comfort level, because this has just become unbearable for people. And I don't think the system, the Matrix or whatever, was expecting that. And that's the great thing about humans is, we can adapt. These other things, these systems, they can't. They need us to do these things. They need us to be watching Netflix. They need us to be in debt. And if you're not, then you're out doing podcasts, and you're out doing a business, and you're out making money.
They're finding no meaning in just consuming nonstop, scrolling through pictures, watching TV, watching Netflix, watching Disney Plus. Like, I think that's a lot of the issue too. It's like people just need to start making stuff again, doing stuff. You know what I mean? Creating something.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you're speaking of that. You're a pretty good artist, man. You ought to create something like your own comic book or whatever.
I'm working on it.
Yeah,
slowly
man.
but surely.
Oh yeah, we talked about that a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah, slowly. I mean, it's probably turtle pace right now, but it's better than nothing. It's kind of what I tell them. You know what I mean? I'm just, whenever I can, I kind of type something down or write something down or, come up with like a little concept here or there so that I'm passively working on it in the background always.
Right.
So, I don't know. But that's the goal, is to make a story. And it's funny, I came up with this whole, I would have to tell you all about it some other time, but I came up with this whole new way of going to market with it. I was like, you ever have those moments where it's just like a lightning bolt to your brain?
Yeah, eureka.
You're like, this is it. And I just like, I want to tell you because it's such a, I want to tell you on like a private call.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy. I think it's like I think it's such an, I really believe it, that it's such an interesting way to tell a story. And it's so, fascinating the way I came up with the idea. But I'll tell you later. You just have to remind me, and I'll tell you about it. I just don't want to put it out there yet.
Okay. Well, yeah. I don't blame you. You gotta keep your state secrets.
Yeah. But it's I think I'm onto something. I really do. But yeah, I mean, the goal is to tell a story. And I've been doing that since I was a kid. I've kind of just always wanted to be, without knowing it, kind of always wanted to be a storyteller. I knew it, but I didn't know it. You know what I mean? Like, when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a comic book artist,
Yeah.
But right now, I would say I'm not good enough to be a comic book artist. Those guys are really good.
Hey, you could do your own comic book, man. Have you ever seen that Have you ever seen that Australian guy do the Big Les show? Yeah, he started off with these just janky looking animations, and he's just got better over time, and by his last season it looked great. It looked better than Family Guy, And I think that's the way to do it. Just start it. Then when you get fans, you have a reason to keep going. Like, people actually want this. They're hungry for this content. They want your artwork, and that gives artists an incentive. But when an artist just hides their stuff, I think it doesn't ever come out. It's got to be put out there for the world to judge.
Right.
That way it can grow, it can evolve, just like us. Like if we hid inside all day, we would never change, we would never grow, we would never have conversations. And I think art is that same. It's a creation. You know, that's one of God's gifts He gave to us, that we can create our own things. Maybe not as great as Him, like a whole planet and animals and all that, but we can create things. We can do stuff that's cool, that gives us meaning, that makes us feel good. And there's a reason it makes us feel good. I think it's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's the Imago Dei, the image of God in us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody smarter than us figured that out a long time ago in Latin, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I just know. I know a little bit of Latin terms.
Yeah.
I can't, you know what I mean? I know Theanustos, I know that. God, that means God breathed. Like a very intimate kind of meaning.
Right.
Yeah. I know some Latin. It's really cool, off subject, but we have this church. It was like an old church, like stained glass windows and everything, like, you know, cobblestone, like really old near us. And someone bought it and they turned it into a brewery. And it still has all the Latin inscriptions on its beams.
Oh, that's cool.
You know what I mean? And it still has all the old stained glass windows and everything in it, like depicting like the different stories of the Bible.
Right.
And I go there every year for St. Patrick's Day. It just feels very fitting to go there during St. Patrick's Day.
Right. Get those ancient vibes.
Yeah.
Those ancient Chad vibes.
Like a strong foundation, you know.
Right.
These stones that have lasted for hundreds of years.
Right.
Stacked on top of each other. You know? Like I said too, last time we talked, like when I went to the Sistine Chapel in Italy, I was just like, I mean, it's still, that whole thing still affects me to this day. I think about it. I mean, I saw what Michelangelo did, and part of me, you know, another thing, it's grand and it's huge, right? But then a part of you, like for me at least, like when I'm looking at it, I was like, I could do that. I could do something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it also kind of brought it home for me. It was like this, it was way up in the clouds, but it was also kind of brought it home for me too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's doable. You know, that's kind of what I thought. I'm like, wow, you're awe-inspired, but then you're also like, that's doable. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, it's common demand or something, you know? It's just if you do it. You know? Yeah, that was an experience.
I bet.
Anyways, well, I better get going in here.
Yeah, well, we've done almost 2 hours, man, and that's awesome. But yeah, I really enjoyed doing this, man, and we'll do it again here soon. What do you think we should title this podcast?
This exact one?
Yeah, like the episode, like so that way when I upload it, it'll kind of like go over it. We talked about family. We talked about kingdoms.
Yeah.
What else did we talk about?
Family, kingdoms, and art.
And art.
A little bit of art at the end, I guess.
That's a good episode title. Family, kingdoms, and art.
Kind of moved together, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I like, you know, and I think that's what other people like too. You know, that's what all these other podcasters do. They just kind of have an open-ended conversation with interesting people and just see where it goes without really forcing it. I guess we could get like a little post-it note and have some bullet points of stuff that maybe we'd be interested in exploring. But I thought this was great. Went good, man.
Yeah. We'll just keep doing it. We'll get better at it. So.
Yeah, we'll just keep chugging along. Well, you take it easy and tell everybody I said hi, and I hope you have a good night and a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Okay. You have a good Thanksgiving too.
Okay. See you, man. Have a good night.
All right. Good night. Bye.
Bye. All right. So that was another episode of, I don't know what to call this project yet, but it was fun. It was real. It was fun. It was real fun. See ya.